put on their holy dress. 1,000 years ago, the poet Ferdowsi sang the praises of the spring among Persia's mountains. Today, the people of Iran still look to their mountains for water, precious water, for the high, arid plain on which most of the people live. But too often, rivers flowing down from the snow disappear in the great central deserts of Iran. East and west lie other Muslim lands: Turkey, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan. North, the Soviet Union lies beyond the Alborz Mountains. Iran knew greatness in the days when it was known as Persia. From this vast throne room, part of his renowned capital, Persepolis, King Darius ruled over the first great empire in history. The hall of 100 columns, the haram for the many royal wives, and a wonderful sculptured stone stairway were among the marvels here. Focus of the sculpture was the life-size carving of Darius himself, seated on his throne, receiving tribute from the peoples he ruled. From Europe, Africa, and Asia came men bearing gifts. In the procession was Syria, bringing golden bowls, bracelets, cake-like horseshoes, and small horses from what is today Arabia. This was sort of day 55 centuries ago. There were Medes, there were Scythians from what is today southwest Russia. There was sheep from what is today Turkey. There were vessels with exotic shapes, full of precious liquids. There were humpbacked cattle from what is today India. All these part of the Persian Empire in its days of greatest glory. There was a chariot, like those of the pharaohs. Even Egypt was ruled by this Persian king. There was a factory in Campbell from what is today Afghanistan. The tax collectors were the men of his mighty army. On this golden tablet, Darius inscribed, "I am Darius, King of Kings. The great god Ahura Mazda has given me the rulership of all races. This is my kingdom." Here in gold was outlined the empire which was handed to Xerxes, his son. Xerxes, at the head of vast armies, extended Persian rule to the limits of the known world. Persian armies met defeat in Greece at the Battle of Marathon. Under Alexander, Greeks pursued the Persians back to Persepolis. Through this gateway, Alexander the Great strode in triumph. Conquerors of a different kind came 1,000 years later, when in from the Arabian Peninsula swept men with flaming sword and a fiery new faith. As this new faith of Islam grew and mellowed, the followers of the Prophet Muhammad built great churches called mosques. The Masjid-i-Shah, the royal blue mosque of Isfahan, was completed in the 17th century by Shah Abbas. He ruled during Persia's second golden age. Polo was developed in Isfahan and played in the great square, while the Shah watched from this porch over the palace gateway. From his palace, Shah Abbas ruled a reborn, expanding Persia. He built roads, irrigation systems, and great bridges like this one, but even his empire finally crumbled. Centuries later, in 1925, Reza Shah rose to power and a new era began, marked by a turn from old customs toward Western ways of thought. Under Reza Shah's son, needed land reforms are changing old patterns and bringing hope to the people. The young Shah's palace is typical of the architecture of modern Tehran. Former rulers lived in the Gulistan, or Rose Garden Palace. In its mirror throne room is one of the world's most fabulous objects, the Peacock Throne. This golden seat of state was designed so that its occupant sat cross-legged with his back against a bolster thrusted
astronomers, philosophers, and poets. The climate is agreeable here. Oranges grow near reflecting pools in which Muslim poets saw the tranquility they sought in their faith. With this monument, Shiraz honors its most beloved son, the poet Saadi. 700 years ago, he wrote poetry of such beauty that it still is the basis of the living Persian language of today. The people of Shiraz are among the most progressive in Iran. Behind the caravan, still used for transport, rises their modern grain elevator. They built a fine new technical school where young men are learning to use machine tools and thus reduce Iran's dependence on foreign manufactures. They point with special pride to their rapidly expanding medical school, in which young people are being trained to fill the serious shortage of doctors. Some of the students are women, evidence of change disturbing to the conservative Muslim clergy. Medical care has not yet reached much of rural Iran. About 90% of the people live in villages like Kinare. Kinare exists because it has water drawn by this primitive hoist. 3 centuries ago, elaborate irrigation systems operated. The land fed twice its present population. Today, this hoist reaches only 60 feet. Its capacity, 2 goat skins, about 8 gallons of water a minute. Here the people of the village come to wash their clothes. And in this same water, they do their dishes. They see nothing wrong about having the sheep and goats come to drink at the same source from which they draw their water to take home for cooking and drinking. A girl named Zara carries on her head the quart of water she's walked half a mile to get. There is no school in Kinare, so Zara has not heard of the dangers of bacteria in drinking water. Kinare is cold and dusty in winter, hot, even dustier, much more uncomfortable in summer because of the flies. At home, Zara's mother makes bread from wheat flour that was the family share of the crop. The landlord owns the fields and also the house in which Zara and her family live. Sickness breeds easily here. It comes from dust, flies, unclean drinking water, and often just from too little soap, because soap is expensive. Main food is bread. Only occasionally are there vegetables and a little goat milk. Meat is scarce, so the diet is mostly bread, not much else. Yet for all their poverty, these people are kind and decent, honest, honorable, and pretty. Their bedding is the most precious thing they own. They have a copper samovar, a broken kerosene lantern, a teapot, a few cups and saucers, a mirror, and a picture of the shop. Together with their clothing and cooking utensils, these things are all that this hard-working family owns. The house has 2 rooms, a sleeping room upstairs and a cooking room downstairs. This is the only stairway. Mother is making bread in the room. Although Iran is rich in oil products are still too expensive for this family, so Mother walked 15 miles to gather twigs for her fire. As Zara's father, Mustafa, walks to work, he realizes that he was neither much better nor much worse off than his neighbor, who are neither much better nor much worse off than most of the 60 million people of Iran. And as he works in the field with the landlord's oxen, he knows that little has changed in Kinare in 25 centuries. There is still the old system of land ownership, which sometimes requires the tenants to pay 80% of their crop for the privilege of working the owner's land. The only change is Mustafa's clothing, and now the steel tip on the wooden plow. Like most people in the Middle East, Mustafa wants the benefits of mechanized civilization. Change is coming as the great natural resources of Iran are developed. The most important resource is oil. At Abadan is one of the world's largest refineries, built to serve customers of many nations. Developed by British interests, Iranian oil has been the subject of bitter dispute. With no tradition of mechanical experience, Iranian technicians are developing skills to operate complex machinery. High industrial wages have attracted men from all over the country to work in the unfamiliar angle of technical equipment. Men from the Highland tribes, men from the city bazaar, hope to the time when, with further development of industry, their great natural resources, Iran may know again some of the glory it knew when Darius ruled in Persepolis